What's up guys, Coach Rob at Optimal Carnivore. Now, how can you tell if a food is good for you or a food is bad for you? Or is there even such a thing? Are there inherently good foods and inherently bad foods? Let's break it down. And as always, full honesty and transparency at Optimal Carnivore. I hate to burst your bubble, but yes, they are very, very much so good foods and bad foods. Any other online coach or PT, anyone in this space or just people in general, anyone that says there's no such thing as good foods or bad foods, usually they just say, oh, as long as you hit your calories and your macros, that it doesn't matter. If you're hiring someone that's giving you that advice, I'm afraid you need to run from there as fast as possible. Sack them because they're doing you a disservice. They're lying to you, keeping you hooked on the foods that got you into the mess you are in the first place. There are a couple of ways of telling if a food is good for you or bad for you. First of all, ingredients. Usually if there's more than one or two ingredients, it's probably not meant for human consumption. Whole natural foods is going to be a great start for most people. That is the way to go. If the ingredients list contains anything like sugar, flour, oil, this industrial seed oils called vegetable oils to sound healthy, they're nothing to do with vegetables, that used to be machine lubricant, run a mile. Because these foods, they are scientifically designed. First of all, the manufacturer only makes them to get you addicted and to make money. They do not care about your health. They're designed by scientists to hit this bliss point in your brain. A perfect combination of sugar, fat, salt, artificial sweeteners, all combined together to light up your brain like a Christmas tree. Like a drug. Now, you've got to be truly honest with yourself. When you eat whole, single ingredients foods, does it light up your brain like that? Does it have that drug-like effect of more? Which is extremely important, ties into that second point. A food is either good for you or bad for you, depending on its feedback loop. And let me explain. So, when you eat, say like I make a steak, I'm craving it, I'm salivating, it tastes amazing. Every bite gets just a tiny little bit not as nice, where it gets to the point where my hunger signals and satiety signals are where they need to be, and it almost tastes a bit bland. It's like, oh, you're full, stop eating. So that is a negative feedback loop, which is actually a good thing. That's what it's supposed to be. Our bodies are supposed to know when to stop eating. Whereas, when you say you crack open a bag of family-sized bag of Doritos, a bag of crisps, chips, whatever you want to call them, or if you start eating into a pizza, that is going to cause a positive feedback loop, which unfortunately is a bad thing. It isn't behaving like a normal food in a normal human body. It's giving a positive feedback loop saying more. Because it's got all this bliss point, this perfect combination of sugar, carbs, salt, fat, artificial sweeteners, MSG, all these things, these flavor enhancers, even certain like herbs and spices to make it hyper palatable, your brain starts to light up. Every taste gets better and better. When have you ever cracked open a family-sized bag of Doritos or a bar of chocolate and just had one crisp? You've just had one chip, you've just had one little bar of chocolate. It's more. And does that not make you think like when someone has like one drink, then they're off? Does anyone just have one line of Coke and say, right, see you later guys, I'm off to bed? These foods, again, light up your brain, spark that unnatural amount of dopamine in your body, and they just give that more signal, and you just can't stop. So you're at the capacity of your stomach. That is the only thing that's going to stop you eating. So how many times have you gone on a binge and got to a point where the only time you stop is because you start to feel sick and you fill your stomach capacity, and then when it starts to go down, then we eat again an hour or two later. That is what everyone's doing every day without even realising it. Whereas you eat something like the optimal human diet, go eat some steak and eggs, you literally can tense your stomach after. Someone could punch you in the abs and you're absolutely fine. You could go and exercise. You've got that nutrition satiety signal because you've given your body what it needs. You haven't reached anywhere near the capacity of your stomach because that's not what you're supposed to do. So that is a great way of testing if it's a good food or a bad food. How many times have you been sat at night with your partner, you might be watching some rubbish on Netflix, and you get a little hankering and you think, oh, and you go to the fridge and you start having a little snack out of habit. And you weren't even hungry. Now, if I do that, I'm hungrier than when I started eating it. So that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be hungrier as you're putting more food in your body. As you start eating, the hunger levels should slowly start to drop. So just think, how many times have you gone on a massive binge on steak or eggs and felt guilty the next day? No, these binge foods are these hyper palatable, bliss point foods that shouldn't be in our food supply. We wouldn't give them to our dog, so why are we putting them in our body and our children's body? Why the heck am I telling you all this? Because knowledge is power. This really helps me and my clients to know, when you know what's happening in your brain, you can take that powerful first step and think, no, I'm not letting the manufacturer control me. I'm not getting addicted to this food, because everyone is addicted to crap. If you don't think you are, go cold turkey on any sort of carbohydrate, any sort of like your vice or caffeine, any of those things, and see how you affect. If it affects your mood, if you're craving them, if you're just not yourself, then you are addicted to them. So it all starts with education. Then what can you do? Obviously, you're going to get cravings. First 1 or 2 weeks, if you're wanting to make a big change in your life, if you're wanting to look drastically different and feel drastically different, you're going to have to do something drastically different. So here's what I want you to do. If you do, it's usually late at night, you get these cravings. These hunger hormone ghrelin can peak, or we've had a blood sugar crash and our caffeine has started to wear off. Here's what you can do. I want you to see if you're truly hungry for pure nutrition. Is it hunger or is it a craving? That's what you need to ask yourself. And I do this to myself. Most nights I have this little battle in my head and it works so well. So I want you to make something like just some boiled eggs and have them in the fridge. Or you have some animal products, you have a steak ready to cook, or you have some mince or ground beef already cooked. You have some like hamburger patties already cooked, cold in the fridge. That's usually a good test. So if the thought of some like a cold hamburger patty in the fridge, if I think, could I eat that? And if I think yes, I'll go eat it. Yes, sound. If I think no, but then my brain is saying like, oh no, but I could eat that bag of crisps or chips, or no, I could put a pizza in the oven, or I could order a takeaway. Like if you were actually hungry, that is what we're supposed to eat. That's what biologically designed to eat. I cut my bicep open, I'm made of red meat. We're supposed to eat red meat. And that's why it works so well. If you can't eat that, you're not hungry. Keep fasting till that becomes salivating to you. But if you could reach for that bag of Haribo or that bag of family-sized bag of Doritos, or order a takeaway, bang a pizza in the oven, that is just a craving. That is that fickle, low baseline dopamine system wanting a hit of dopamine, wanting to get you addicted, keep you addicted. Then you'll have to up the dose. That is why everyone's gaining 1 or 2 pounds a year, slowly. So hopefully this helps just one person, because it's worth making. Do something about it. Education, knowledge is power. Do not let the manufacturers get you hooked. Do not let them keep you on the Ferris wheel and stealing your money. Eat pure, real, human, nutritious food that isn't addictive. So you want that negative feedback loop, not a positive feedback loop. Yes, of course there are good foods and bad foods. Would you put those bad foods, if you had a pet panda or a pet koala bear or a pet lion, would you feed it that garbage? So why are you feeding yourself and your kids?